She left me off her wedding guest list, and the envelope that never came still sits in my mind like a stone I can't swallow. I'm standing in the kitchen of the house I've lived in for 32 years, the one with the warped linoleum that curls at the edges like old paper. The invitation I'm holding isn't mine. It's addressed to my sister, Marlene, in Lila's looping handwriting, gold ink, thick cardstock, the kind of stationery that costs more than my weekly grocery budget. I found it wedged behind the junk mail when I stopped by Marlene's place to drop off the lemon bars she likes. The return address is Lila's, my daughter, my only child, and my name is nowhere on it. The kettle starts its low whistle behind me, but I don't move to take it off the burner. Steam curls up, fogging the window over the sink where the African violets have gone leggy from too little light. I trace the embossed lilies on the corner of the card with my thumb. Save the date, it says. 3 months from now. A vineyard in Napa, black tie optional. I read it 3 times, waiting for the punchline that doesn't come. Lila and I used to laugh about weddings. She'd sprawl across my couch with her feet in my lap, painting her toenails some god-awful shade of green and say, "Mama, when I get married, it's gonna be barefoot in the backyard with string lights and your peach cobbler." I'd swat her with the TV remote and tell her she'd better have a dress that didn't show grass stains. That was before. Before the silence that started small, missed calls, texts that went hours without an answer, and grew into something I couldn't name. I set the invitation down on Marlene's counter like it might bite me. My sister's in the living room, humming along to some old Aretha record, oblivious. She doesn't know I've seen it. Doesn't know I'm standing here with my heart beating so hard I can feel it in my teeth. Let me take you back a little, before the stone lodged in my throat. Before the invitation, that wasn't mine. My name is Evelyn Rose Carter, but most folks just call me Evie. I'm 61, widowed 12 years now, and I've spent the better part of 3 decades teaching 3rd grade at Willow Creek Elementary. The kind of job where you learn to spot a lie in a child's eyes before they even open their mouth. I thought that skill would carry over into motherhood. Turns out, children grow into women who can look you dead in the face and smile while they're planning something else entirely. Our house sits on a quiet cul-de-sac in Oak Ridge, the sort of neighborhood where everybody knows when your hydrangeas are blooming and when your husband's been gone too long at the VFW. After Thomas died, heart attack, sudden as a slammed door, I kept the routines because they were all I had left of him. Coffee at 6:30, the porch light on by dusk, Sunday dinner at 4 sharp whether anyone showed up or not. Lila was 22 when her daddy passed. She'd just finished her nursing degree and moved into a tiny apartment downtown with a girl named Sage, who wore overalls and smelled like patchouli. I worried the way mothers do, but Lila had always been my steady one. She'd come home on Fridays with takeout from the Thai place Thomas loved, kick off her shoes in the foyer, and we'd eat cross-legged on the living room floor like we did when she was 10. She'd tell me about the patients who made her laugh, the doctors who made her cry, the way the hospital smelled like bleach and hope. I'd tell her about the kid who glued his spelling test to the ceiling, or how Mrs. Henderson's cat kept sneaking into the playground. Those nights, the house felt full again. The radiator would clank like it was clearing its throat. The smell of lemongrass and basil would drift through the rooms. Lila would lean her head on my shoulder, her hair still damp from the shower, and say, "I'm glad I've got you, Mama." I believed her. She met Ethan 2 years ago. That's what she told me anyway. A resident in the ER, kind eyes, steady hands. He came to Sunday dinner once, tall, quiet, the kind of man who listens more than he talks. He complimented my cornbread and asked about the photographs on the mantel. Lila watched him like he'd hung the moon. I liked him well enough. Thought he might be good for her. After that, things shifted, slow as seasons. Lila's visits grew shorter. She'd text that she was on call, or that Ethan had surprised her with tickets to something. I'd save her a plate anyway, cover it with foil, leave it in the fridge with a note. She'd swing by on her way to work, heat it up, kiss my cheek, and be gone before I could ask how her day was. I told myself it was normal. Young love, new routines. I'd been married once. I remembered how it felt to build a life that didn't always include your mother, but there were moments that stuck. The way she'd flinch when her phone buzzed at the table. How she started locking her bedroom door when she stayed over, something she hadn't done since high school. Once I found a man's watch in the guest bathroom, sleek, expensive, not the kind a resident could afford. When I asked whose it was, she snatched it up and said, A patient's. He left it in the ambulance bay. Her voice was too bright, like a bulb about to burn out. I pushed it down. Mothers do that. We swallow the sharp edges so our children don't have to. I kept making her favorite oatmeal raisin cookies and kept leaving the porch light on. I kept telling myself that love looks different from the outside. Then came the weekend she didn't come home at all. No call, no text. I sat up until 2 a.m., knitting a scarf I didn't need, watching the street for her little blue Civic. When she finally walked in Sunday morning, hair in a messy bun, eyes red-rimmed, she said she'd pulled a double shift and crashed at the hospital. I wanted to believe her. I made her eggs and didn't ask why her scrubs smelled like cedar cologne. That was 6 months ago. The invitation in Marlene's kitchen is the first hard proof that something's wrong. Not just wrong in a way that rewrites everything I thought I knew about my daughter. I fold the card in half, then in half again, until it's a small, thick square. My hands are shaking. Marlene's voice floats in from the living room. Evie, you want sweet tea? I clear my throat. In a minute, I called back. My voice sounds like someone else's. I slip the invitation into my purse, between my checkbook and the grocery list. The paper feels hot against my fingers, like it's alive. That night, I sit at my own kitchen table with the lights off, the invitation smoothed out under the glow of the stove hood. I run my thumb over the date again. 3 months. Plenty of time to plan a wedding. Plenty of time to decide who gets invited and who doesn't. I think about the bridal magazines I found in Lila's old room last month, tucked under the bed like contraband. The sticky notes on pages of lace gowns and peony bouquets. I smiled then, thinking she was dreaming. I'd even dog-eared a recipe for lavender cupcakes, left it on her pillow with a note, "For when you're ready to tell me." She never mentioned it. The clock on the wall ticks louder than it should. Outside, a dog barks once, then stops. I pick up my phone, thumb hovering over Lila's name. My finger trembles. I set the phone down. Tomorrow, I will tell myself. Tomorrow, I'll ask her straight. Tomorrow, she'll explain, and we'll laugh about the mix-up. And I'll help her pick out centerpieces, but the stone in my throat doesn't budge. The next morning, the house smells like coffee and the faint ghost of last night's lemon bars. I'm at the sink, scrubbing the same plate for the 3rd time, when the front door creaks open. Lila's key still works, same as always. She calls out soft, "Mama, you up?" I dry my hands on the dish towel that's been hanging on the oven handle since Thomas picked it out at the county fair. Sunflowers, faded now. My heart does a funny skip, half hope, half dread. I smooth my apron and step into the hallway. She's kicking off her sneakers, hair in a ponytail that's coming loose, scrubs wrinkled like she slept in them. There's a coffee stain on the hem. She looks exhausted, but her smile is quick, practiced. "Hey, thought I'd swing by before my shift. You got any of that banana bread left?" I nod toward the counter. Wrapped in foil. "Help yourself." She brushes past me, the scent of hospital soap and something sharper, cedar again, trailing behind her. I watch her slice the bread with the serrated knife, the way she always does, heel first, then thick centerpieces. Her hands are steady. Mine are not. We sat at the table. Sunlight slants through the blinds, striping the wood like prison bars. She takes a bite, closes her eyes. God, I missed this. Crumbs cling to her bottom lip. She wipes them away with the back of her hand, the same gesture she's had since she was 5. I fold my hands in my lap so she won't see them shake. "Lila!" She looks up, mouth full. "Hmm?" "I was at Aunt Marlene's yesterday." I keep my voice even, the way I do when a student's about to confess to breaking the class hamster's wheel. Found something interesting in her mail. Her chewing slows. "Just a fraction, but I caught it." She swallows. "Yeah? She finally got that cruise brochure she's been hinting at?" "No." I reach into my purse, pull out the folded invitation, and slide it across the table. It stops just short of her plate. "This." She stares at it like it's a spider. Then she picks it up, unfolds it with careful fingers. Her face doesn't change, but the color drains out slowly, like someone pulled a plug. Oh, I repeat. The word hangs between us, flat and ugly. She sets the card down, aligns the edges perfectly. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "Soon, I swear." She rubs her forehead, leaving a smudge of banana bread sugar. "It's just complicated." "Complicated how?" My voice is still calm, but inside I'm screaming. "You're my daughter. I changed your diapers, Lila. I held your hair when you puked up a birthday cake at Chuck E. Cheese. How is inviting me to your wedding complicated? She flinches. Good. Mama, please don't what? Ask why my name's not on the list. Why did my sister got an invitation and I didn't even know you were engaged? I lean forward. Who is he, Lila? This fiancé you've been hiding? Her eyes flick to the window, then back to me. His name's Daniel, not Ethan. The name lands like a slap. I sit back, the chair creaking under me. Daniel, she nods. We met at a conference in Seattle. Last year, while she was still bringing Ethan to Sunday dinner. While I was saving her foil-wrapped plates. While she was locking her bedroom door, I press my fingers to my temples. And Ethan? She looks down at her hands. We broke up. Months ago. You didn't tell me. I didn't want to worry you. Her voice cracks. You just had that scare with your blood pressure and... Don't. I hold up a hand. Don't you dare use my health as an excuse. You had plenty of chances. Silent stretches, thick as the humidity before a storm. Outside, Mrs. Henderson's sprinkler kicks on shh across the lawn. Lila picks at a splinter on the table. Daniel's different, older, he's a surgeon, divorced. He has a daughter, Sophie. She's 8, I close my eyes. A stepdaughter. A whole life I know nothing about. And you thought the best way to introduce me to my future son-in-law was to leave me off the guest list? It's not like that. She reaches for my hand. I pull away. Her face crumples. Daniel's family is particular. They're paying for everything. His mother insisted on a small wedding. Intimate. She made the list. His mother made the list, I echo. And you just went along with it. I tried to fight for you, she says, voice small. I did. But Daniel said it would cause drama, and I didn't want to start our marriage with his family hating me. I laugh, but it comes out bitter. So instead, you let your own mother find out from her sister's mail pile. That's better. Tears well in her eyes. I was going to call you. After the save the dates went out, I had a whole speech planned. I stand up. The chair scrapes loud against the tile. Get out! Mama, get out! My voice doesn't shake now. It's steel. She stands slowly like she's moving through water. At the door, she pauses. I love you. I don't answer. The door clicks shut behind her. I stood there a long time, staring at the empty space where she was. That afternoon, I did something I haven't done in years. I call in sick to work. Then I sit at the kitchen table with Lila's high school yearbook, flipping through pages until I find her senior photo. She's smiling, braces gone, hair in soft curls. Underneath, she wrote, "To the best mom in the world. Love you forever, L." I trace the words with my finger. Then I close the book. I need to know who this Daniel is. Really know. I start with the easy stuff. Google his name and surgeon and Seattle. It's not hard. Dr. Daniel Whitford, MD, cardiothoracic, fancy clinic downtown. Headshot shows a man in his late 40s, salt and pepper hair, the kind of jawline that photographs well. There's a bio, Yale undergrad, Johns Hopkins Med School, ex-wife named Caroline, who's some kind of art curator. They share custody of Sophie. I scroll further. Society pages, charity galas, Daniel and Caroline at the ballet, her hand on his arm like she owns him. The divorce was 2 years ago. Amicable, the articles say. I snort. Nothing about divorce is amicable when there's a child involved. Then I found Lila. Not by name. There's no mention of her anywhere. But there's a photo from a hospital fundraiser last spring. Daniel's arm around a woman in a red dress. Her back is to the camera, but I know the slope of those shoulders. The way she tucks her hair behind her ear when she's nervous. It's her. My stomach turns. I close the laptop. The room feels too small. I open the back door and step onto the porch. The air smells like cut grass and charcoal from someone's grill. I sit on the top step, the wood warm through my slacks. I think about calling Marlene, but I don't. Not yet. This is between me and Lila, and apparently, between me and this stranger who's rewriting my daughter's life. That night, I couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan clicks overhead, same rhythm as the clock downstairs. I get up, pad to the kitchen, pour myself a glass of water. The invitation is still on the table where I left it. I pick it up, turn it over. On the back, in Lila's handwriting, Mom, please understand. I'll explain everything soon. Love you, I crumple it. Then I smooth it out again. I'm not ready to let go. Not yet. The next day, I do something else I've never done. I drove to the hospital where Lila works. Not to confront her, I'm not ready for that. Just to watch. To see. I park across the street in the visitor lot, engine off, windows cracked. Nurses come and go, scrubs in every color. I spot Lila around noon, walking out with a group, laughing at something the tall one says. She's carrying a to-go cup from the cafe on the corner. Her hair's down today, shining in the sun. Then I see him. He pulls up in a silver Audi, hazards blinking. Lila waves, jogs over. He gets out, tall, broader than in photos, wearing a white coat over slacks. He kisses her cheek, says something that makes her laugh again. She touches his arm, familiar, possessive. I grip the steering wheel so hard my knuckles ache. They drive off together. I sit there until the lot empties, until the sun shifts and the shadows stretch long across the asphalt. I don't cry. Not yet, but I know one thing for certain. This isn't over. The next week passes in a blur of half-lived days. I go to work, smile at the children, correct spelling tests in red ink that looks too much like blood. I come home, water the violets, microwave soup I don't taste. Every night I sit on the porch with a cup of chamomile gone cold, watching the streetlights flicker on one by one. I wait for Lila to call. She doesn't. I keep the crumpled invitation in the junk drawer next to the takeout menus and the spare key Thomas used to hide under the mat. Sometimes I take it out and smooth it flat, like if I press hard enough the words will rearrange themselves and my name will appear. On Friday, Marlene shows up unannounced with a Tupperware of chicken salad and worries in her eyes. She sets the container on the counter, wipes her hands on her jeans. "You look like hell, Evie." "Thank you." I pour her tea without asking. The ice clinks too loud. She leans against the fridge, arms crossed. "Lila called me. Said you two had words?" "Words?" I laugh under my breath. "Sure." Marlene waits. She's always been good at that, letting silence do the heavy lifting. I caved first. She's marrying some hotshot surgeon. Didn't invite me. Told me his mother made the list. I stir sugar into my tea even though I gave it up years ago. "I found out from your mail, Mar." Her mouth tightens. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "Soon as I figured out how," she sighs. "I didn't want to be the one to break it." I nod like that makes it better. It doesn't. Marlene opens the Tupperware, scoops chicken salad onto crackers, hands me one. I take it. We eat standing up, the way we did when we were kids sneaking treats before dinner. The celery crunches too loud. "Is she still your maid of honor?" I ask. Marlene nods. "Asked me last month. Said she wanted family represented." She meets my eyes. "I told her I wouldn't accept till she fixed things with you." I swallow the cracker. "It tastes like sawdust." "She won't." "You don't know that. I do. I know my daughter. Knew her anyway." That night I dream of Thomas. He's in the backyard, turning steaks on the grill, smoke curling around his head like a halo. Lila's 10 years old, chasing fireflies with a mason jar. I wake up gasping, the sheets twisted around my legs. Saturday I clean. Not the gentle weekend tidying. Full-on war. I drag every box from the attic, sort Lila's childhood into keep and donate. The tutu from her first recital, stained with grape juice. The trophy for spelling bee champ. The hospital bracelet from when she was born, still curled like a tiny crown. I set the bracelet on the dresser and stare at it until my eyes burn. Then I do the thing I swore I wouldn't. I make a new email address, something anonymous. No variation of my name, and I send Daniel Whitford a message through the clinic's contact form. "Dr. Whitford, I'm a concerned parent of a nurse at your hospital. I believe my daughter is involved with you, and I have questions about your intentions. Could we speak privately?" A friend I hit send before I can talk myself out of it. Then I close the laptop and go scrub the bathroom until my knuckles bleed. Sunday morning, there's a reply. "Meet me at Bluebird Cafe, Tuesday, 10 a.m. Come alone. Dino pleasantries." No questions. Just a time and place. My stomach flips like I'm 16 and waiting for a boy to call. Tuesday, I dress carefully. Navy slacks, white blouse, the pearl earrings Thomas gave me on our 20th anniversary. I tell the school I have a doctor's appointment. I drive downtown with the radio off, windows down, the air thick with late summer heat. Bluebird Cafe is one of those places that smells like burnt sugar and overpriced nostalgia. Exposed brick, chalkboard menu, baristas with sleeve tattoos. I'm early. I take a table in the corner, order black coffee I don't drink. He walks in at 10:03, scans the room once, spots me. I know it's him before he moves. Same jaw, same way of holding his shoulders like the world was built to fit him. He's wearing a crisp Oxford, sleeves rolled, no tie. The wedding ring tan line still faint on his finger. He slides into the chair opposite me. "You're the friend," I nod. My mouth is dry. He studies me for a moment. "You look like Lila." The words hit harder than they should. I grip the coffee cup. "Evelyn Carter." Her mother. Something flickers across his face. Surprise, maybe calculation. Then it's gone. "She said you were traditional." I lean forward. "She said a lot of things, apparently." He signals the barista, orders an espresso without looking at the menu. "What do you want, Mrs. Carter?" "The truth." My voice is steady now. "All of it." He waits until the espresso arrives, a tiny cup on a tiny saucer. He doesn't touch it. "Lila and I have been together 14 months. We're in love. We're getting married." That's the truth. 14 months, I repeat. While she was still dating Ethan. His jaw tightens. "That was a mistake. She ended it, did she?" I tilt my head. "Because Ethan thinks they're still together. Sent me a text last week asking if Lila wanted to meet his parents in Portland." Daniel's eyes narrow. "She told me it was over. Maybe she tells a lot of people a lot of things." I pull a folded paper from my purse, print out of the society page photo, Lila in the red dress. I slide it across the table. "This you?" He glances at it, pushes it back. "Ancient history." 6 months isn't ancient? He leans in, voice low. "Look, I don't know what game you're playing, but Lila's a grown woman. She makes her own choices. She's my daughter, and soon she'll be my wife." He sits back. "You're not on the guest list because my mother thinks family drama is tacky." Lila agreed. End of story. I laugh soft. "You think this is about the guest list?" He checks his watch. "I have surgery in an hour." "One more thing." I reach into my purse again, pull out the hospital bracelet, set it on the table between us. Pink and white beads, Lila Rose Carter spelled in tiny letters. She was 3 pounds 4 ounces. Spent 2 weeks in the NICU. I sang her "You Are My Sunshine" every night until she could breathe on her own. I meet his eyes. "You don't get to erase me because your mother thinks I'm tacky." He stares at the bracelet. For the first time, he looks unsettled. I stand. "Tell Lila I'll be at the wedding, whether I'm invited or not." I leave him with the espresso and the bracelet and the check. That afternoon, I drove to the vineyard. It's an hour north, past fields of sunburnt grass and billboards for wineries with pun names. The gates are open. No one stops me. I park in the gravel lot and walk the grounds like I belong. The ceremony space is a lawn sloping down to the vines, rows of white chairs already set up for some other couple's rehearsal. There's a pergola draped in fairy lights and a long table for the head party. I stand where Lila will stand and try to picture her in a white dress, Daniel beside her, me in the back row clapping like a stranger. I can't. On the way out, I stopped at the tasting room. The girl behind the counter is young, freckled, chatty. I ask about weddings. She lights up, pulls out a binder thick as a phone book. We booked a year in advance, but there was a cancellation for October. Some tech couple from San Francisco. The Whitford party snapped it up. "Whitford," I say. "Daniel Whitford?" She nods. "Big deal. His mom's on the board of the art museum. They're doing the rehearsal dinner here, too." She flips a page, shows me a menu, seared foie gras, truffle risotto, a cake with gold leaf. Intimate. Only 80 guests. 80. I think of the Christmas card list taped inside my pantry door. Lila's cousins, my book club, the neighbors who brought casseroles when Thomas died. 80 wouldn't cover half. I thank her and buy a bottle of Pinot I don't open. That night, I sit at the kitchen table with the vineyard brochure spread out like evidence. I underline the date in red pen. October 12th, 3 weeks away. I pick up the phone, dial Ethan's number before I lose my nerve. He answers on the second ring, voice wary. "Mrs. Carter?" "Ethan, we need to talk." There's a long pause. Then, "Is Lila okay?" "She's getting married," I say. "To someone else." Silence. Then a sound like air leaving a tire. I tell him everything. The invitation, the vineyard, Daniel. I don't pretty it up. When I'm done, he's quiet so long I think he's hung up. Finally, "She told me she was visiting her aunt in Spokane." "That weekend in Seattle." I close my eyes. I'm sorry, another pause. What do you need? I told him. We made a plan. Ethan meets me 2 days later at the public library downtown, the one with the creaky wooden floors and the smell of old paper that always made Lila sneeze when she was little. He's waiting in the back corner by the local history shelves, wearing the same hoodie he had on the night he helped Thomas fix the gutter. His eyes are red-rimmed, but his jaw is set. I slid into the chair across from him. Thank you for coming. He nods once. Show me what you've got. I open the manila folder I've been carrying like a loaded gun. Inside, printouts of Daniel's society page photos, the vineyard contract I sweet-talked out of the tasting room girl, a screenshot of Lila's Instagram story from last week, her hand with a diamond the size of a nickel, caption just a heart emoji. I saved it before she could delete it. Ethan flips through slowly. When he gets to the engagement ring, his mouth twists. She told me she didn't want anything flashy. Said it felt performative. I don't say anything. There's nothing to say. He closes the folder. What's the play? Truth, I say. Quiet. No scenes. No screaming in the middle of the ceremony. Just enough light that she can't pretend anymore. He leans forward, elbows on the table. She blocked me. Changed her number. I tried. I know. I pat his hand, knuckles still scarred from the time he helped Lila build her Pinewood Derby car. But people talk. And people listen when it's someone they trust. We map it out like a battle plan, calm and surgical. Ethan still has friends in the ER. I still have Marlene, who has a book club, who has the garden club, who has the entire Oak Ridge gossip tree. We'll start small. A comment here, a photo there. Nothing that can be traced back to us directly. Just enough to make Daniel's mother twitch. The first seed was planted that afternoon. I called Marlene from the library parking lot, windows fogged from our breath. I need a favor, I tell her. But you can't ask questions. She does knees. Try me. I told her about the vineyard. The 80 guests. The foie gras. I tell her Daniel's mother is Caroline Whitford of the Whitford Gallery, the one who turned down Marlene's friend's sculpture for the spring exhibit because it was too provincial. Marlene is quite a beat. Then, consider it done. By Friday, the garden club is buzzing. Someone heard Caroline Whitford is importing orchids from Hawaii for the centerpieces. Someone else heard the couple registered at Neiman Marcus for crystal that costs more per glass than most folks make in a week. Someone heard the groom's ex-wife wasn't invited either. I don't add fuel. I just listen, and I watch Lila's Instagram. The stories slow down. The heart emojis stop. Ethan texts me, Saturday night, sent the photo to Jess in HR. She's pissed Lila used a sick day for the dress fitting. I stare at the message until the screen goes dark. Then I bake. Peanut butter cookies, the kind with the Hershey's kiss in the center. I wrap 2 dozen in wax paper and drive to the hospital at shift change. I leave them on the break room table with a note. For the night crew. A grateful mom. Jess finds me in the parking lot an hour later, still in my car. She taps the window. I roll it down. You Evelyn Carter? She asks. I nod. She hands me a folded scrap of paper. Lila's schedule. She's off tomorrow. Daniel's doing rounds at St. Mary's. Thought you should know. I tuck the paper into my purse next to the hospital bracelet. Thank you, she hesitates. She's not herself lately. Jumps when her phone buzzes. Snaps at patients. We're worried. I nod again. I don't trust my voice. Sunday I drove to St. Mary's. It's a smaller hospital. Brick facade, statue of the Virgin Mary out front with a cracked halo. I sit in the chapel pews. Cool, dim, smells like candle wax and lemon polish. I'm not Catholic, but the quiet feels right. Daniel finds me there at 11:47. He's in scrubs. Hair damp from the shower, a stethoscope around his neck like a badge. Mrs. Carter. His voice echoes off the stone. This is bordering on harassment. I can't stand it. Sit. He does 2 pews ahead, turned sideways. What now? I pull out my phone, open the folder of screenshots Ethan sent. Texts between Lila and Daniel from a burner app, recovered from Ethan's old cloud backup. I don't read them aloud. I just tilt the screen so he can see. Lila. Ethan keeps calling. What if he shows up? Daniel. Tell security he's unstable. I'll handle it. Lila. I feel sick about this. Daniel. You wanted the ring, didn't you? Daniel's face goes still. Where did you get those? Doesn't matter. I close the phone. What matters is that my daughter thinks love means lying to everyone who ever cared about her. including herself. He rubs a hand over his mouth. She's stressed. Wedding planning? Stop. I lean forward, elbows on the pew in front of me. You're 47 years old. You've done this before. You know exactly what you're doing. He looks at me then. Really looks. You think I'm the villain here. I think you're a man who likes control. And my daughter is learning the cost. Silence. Somewhere a candle sputters. Finally, what do you want? I want her to choose. With all the information on the table. No more secrets, he stands. And if she still chooses me, I stand too. We're close enough that I smell the antiseptic on his scrubs. Then she chooses. But she'll do it knowing who you asked her to become. I leave him in the chapel with the cracked virgin and the flickering candles. Monday. Lila shows up at my door at 6:03 a.m. She's in pajamas under her coat, hair wild, eyes swollen like she hasn't slept in days. She doesn't wait to be invited in. She walks straight to the kitchen, opens the fridge, closes it. Open the pantry, close it. Finally, she turns to me. Is it true? I'm still in my robe, coffee percolating. Is that true? Everything. Her voice breaks. Ethan, the texts. The guest list. Mom's country club bullshit. All of it. I pour 2 mugs. Hand her one. She wraps both hands around it like it's the only warm thing left in the world. Sit, I say. She does. We drink in silence. The clock ticks. Outside, the sprinklers start their shh, finally. I didn't want to hurt you. You did anyway. She flinches. I know. I set my mug down. Tell me why. She stares into her coffee. Daniel made it feel inevitable. Like if I said no to any of it, I'd lose him. And I was so tired of being alone. A tear slips down her cheek, hangs on her chin. Ethan wanted kids. A house? Normal. Daniel wanted, God, I don't even know. Excitement. Escape. He said you'd never understand. I think of the hospital bracelet. The peanut butter cookies. The cracked halo. He was right about that. She looks up. I'm sorry. I know. Another silence. Then, the wedding's off. I don't let myself react. When did you decide? This morning. After Caroline called screaming about the garden club. About you. About everything, she laughs, watery. She said I was embarrassing the family. I told her the family was the problem. I reach across the table, covering her hand with mine. Her fingers are ice cold. What now? She whispers, now you come home. You sleep in your old bed. You eat my terrible lasagna. And tomorrow we figure out who you are when you're not trying to be someone else's idea of perfection. She nods. Then she lays her head on the table and cries, big, ugly sobs that shake her whole body. I rub her back in slow circles, the way I did when she had nightmares about monsters under the bed. The coffee goes cold. The sprinklers stop. The sun climbs higher, painting the kitchen gold. Later, when she's asleep in her childhood room with the faded unicorn border, I call Ethan. He answers on the first ring. It's done, I say. He exhales, long and shaky. Thank you. No, I say. Thank you. I hang up and stand in the hallway listening to Lila breathe. The house feels full again. Not fixed. Not perfect, but full. The next 3 days are quiet in the way only a house can be after a storm has torn the roof half off and then, somehow, set it gently back down. Lila sleeps late, wakes up puffy-eyed, pads to the kitchen in the same oversized t-shirt she wore at 15. I make scrambled eggs and don't ask questions. She eats half, pushes the rest around the plate, then rinses it without being told. The small routines feel like stitches closing a wound. On the 4th morning, she finds me in the garden, kneeling among the zinnias, dirt under my nails. The sun is already hot, the air thick with the smell of cut grass and warm earth. She stands at the edge of the flower bed in bare feet, holding 2 mugs of coffee. I canceled the venue, she says. They kept the deposit. That's fine, I drink coffee. It's exactly the way I like it. 2 sugars, a splash of milk. And Daniel? Radio silence. She sips, winces. His mother sent a text that just said, "We're praying for you." She snorts. Pretty sure that's code for rot in hell. I set my mug on the stepping stone, go back to deadheading the spent blooms. The petals are papery between my fingers. Are you okay with that? She thinks about it. I think I'm supposed to be devastated. But mostly I feel hollow. Like I've been holding my breath for a year and finally let it out. I nod. That's as good a place to start as any. That afternoon, we drove to the mall, the same one where I used to take her for school clothes, where she once begged for light-up sneakers and cried when I said no. We walk past the fountain with the pennies glinting at the bottom. She stops in front of the jewelry kiosk, stares at the engagement ring still on her finger. It catches the fluorescent lights like a tiny disco ball. I should give it back, she says. Or pawn it and buy something you actually want, I answer. She laughs. Short, surprised, real. The sound startles a toddler nearby into delighted giggles. Lila slips the ring off, drops it into the tiny velvet pouch the jeweler gave her, and tucks it into her purse. I'll think about it. We eat soft pretzels in the food court, cinnamon sugar sticking to our fingers. She tells me about the apartment she's been subletting. Month to month, furnished, view of a parking garage. I hate it, she says. But the idea of moving back here feels like failing. This isn't a consolation prize, Lila. It's a soft place to land while you figure out the next thing. She licks sugar off her thumb. You always make it sound so reasonable. 30 years of third graders. You learn to translate chaos into bullet points. That night, she asks if she can go through the attic boxes I pulled down. We spread everything across the living room floor like a timeline. Report cards, finger paintings, the hideous clay handprint from Mother's Day 2003. She finds the hospital bracelet and holds it up to the light. You kept this? Keep everything that matters. She starts to cry again, quieter this time. I sit beside her on the carpet, our shoulders touching. The radiator clanks. Somewhere down the street, a car alarm chirps itself awake and then gives up. I lied to Ethan for 6 months, she whispers. I told him I was studying for boards when I was on weekend trips with Daniel. I told Daniel you were controlling. I told myself it was fine because everyone was happy. She wipes her face with the sleeve of her sweatshirt. I don't even know who that person was. You were scared, I say. Scared of being ordinary. Scared of disappointing people. Scared of choosing wrong and having no one to blame but yourself. She looks at me. When did you get so wise? Somewhere between the first gray hair and the first time a kid asked if I was the grandma dropping off snacks. She laughs again. Watery, but genuine. The next week, she calls Ethan. I'm in the kitchen slicing tomatoes when I hear her voice through the screen door, low and careful. She's on the porch swing, knees pulled to her chest. I don't expect forgiveness, she says. I just needed you to hear it from me. I was awful. I'm sorry. I can't hear his side, but I watch her face. Eyes closed, nodding, tears tracking clean lines through the garden dirt still on her cheeks. When she hangs up, she comes inside, sets the phone on the counter like it's hot. He said thank you for telling him. Said he hopes I find peace, she exhales. That's more than I deserve. Grace isn't about deserving, I tell her. It's about deciding the story doesn't end with the worst chapter. She helps me finish dinner, spaghetti with the sauce Thomas used to make, the one with too much garlic and the pinch of cinnamon nobody believes in until they taste it. We eat at the table, not the couch. She twirls pasta around her fork the way she did when she was 8, elbow on the table, chin in her hand. I'm going to look for a new place, she says. Closer to the hospital. Maybe with a balcony so I can grow herbs. Good, I say. And you'll come for Sunday dinner. No excuses. Deal. After she goes to bed, I sit on the porch with the last of the wine. The neighborhood is settling, porch lights flicking off, a dog barking once and thinking better of it. I think about Daniel, probably somewhere expensive, licking his wounds. I think about Caroline Whitford rewriting the narrative for her bridge club. I think about the 80 chairs that will stay folded in some warehouse. None of it keeps me awake. 2 weeks later, Marlene hosts a cookout. Nothing fancy, just burgers and potato salad on paper plates. Half the garden club shows up, along with a few of Lila's old high school friends who heard through the grapevine that she was going through something. Ethan comes too, stands by the grill with a beer he barely drinks. Lila finds him near the hydrangeas. I watch from the picnic table, pretending to be absorbed in coleslaw. She says something. He nods. She says something else. He sets the beer down, opens his arms. She steps into them like she's coming home after a long, bad trip. They stay that way for a long time. When they pull apart, she's smiling through tears and he's brushing them away with his thumb. Marlene hip bumps me. Told you Grace wasn't a consolation prize. I roll my eyes but don't argue. Fall creeps in slow, leaves turning the color of bruised peaches, air sharp enough to taste. Lila moves into a second-floor walk-up 3 miles from the hospital. She plants basil and rosemary and coffee cans on the fire escape. She comes for Sunday dinner with a bottle of cheap red wine and stories about patients who make her laugh until she cries. Sometimes Ethan comes too. Sometimes it's just us. One Thursday evening in October, the date that would have been the wedding, she shows up with a bakery box. Inside, a small chocolate cake with "Congratulations on choosing yourself" written in loopy frosting. We eat it straight from the box with 2 forks, sitting on the kitchen floor because the chairs feel too formal. She licks chocolate off her thumb and says, "I pawned the ring. Bought a new couch and donated the rest to the NICU." I nod. Good couch? Terrible. It's orange. I love it. We laugh until our sides hurt. Later, when the dishes are done and the house is quiet, I find the hospital bracelet in the junk drawer. I slip it into the small wooden box on my dresser where I keep Thomas's wedding band and the first tooth Lila ever lost. Some things you don't need to see every day to know they're still there. Outside, the porch light flickers once and steadies. I leave it on. Old habit. Someone might still need to find their way home. The first real frost comes the week before Thanksgiving. It dusts the lawn like powdered sugar and turns the breath of the paperboy into tiny ghosts. I'm in the kitchen at dawn, rolling out pie crust with the radio low, some crooner from the 40s singing about chestnuts and open fires. The phone rings just as I slide the pumpkin pie into the oven. The caller ID says Lila Mobile. It's 6:30, I answered. You better be calling to say you're bringing whipped cream. She laughs, but it's thin. I need a favor, a big one. I wipe flour off my hands onto the apron that still has a burn hole from last Christmas. Name it. Ethan's mom is hosting Thanksgiving. She invited me, said it's time we cleared the air. A pause. I said yes, but I don't want to go alone. I lean against the counter. The pie ticks as it settles. You want me to be your +1 to your ex-almost mother-in-law's turkey dinner? Pretty much. I picture Barbara Hensley, perfectly pressed slacks, hair that never moves, the woman who once told me my deviled eggs needed more paprika. Give me an hour to shower. I'll pick you up at 10. She exhales like she's been holding it for days. Thank you, Mama. We arrived at the Hensley house at 11:47. It's one of those colonials with shutters the color of Merlot and a wreath so large it looks like it's trying to eat the front door. Ethan opens it before we knock, apron tied over his jeans, cheeks flushed from the stove. Hey, Mrs. C. He hugs me quickly, then steps back for Lila. She hesitates half a second, then hugs him too. When they pull apart, Barbara is right behind him, wiping her hands on a dish towel embroidered with tiny turkeys. Evelyn. She smiles, but it's the kind that doesn't quite reach the eyes. So good of you to come. I hand her the foil-wrapped pumpkin pie. Wouldn't miss it. Inside smells like sage and roasting bird, and the faint citrus of whatever Barbara sprays on everything to make it smell expensive. The dining room table is set for 12. Real linens, name cards in Barbara's perfect penmanship. I spot mine between Lila and a cousin I don't recognize. Ethan's dad, Tom, waves from the recliner where he's pretending to watch football but mostly sneaking glances at us. Barbara takes our coats, hangs them in the hall closet like she's curating a museum. Drinks in the kitchen, she says. Lila, dear, help me with the relish tray. Lila shoots me a look, save me, but follows. Ethan mouths sorry and disappears to check the bird. I wander into the living room. Family photos line the mantel. Ethan in braces, Ethan at graduation, Ethan and Lila at the county fair last summer, arms around each other, cotton candy sticky on their fingers. The photo is face down. I turn it up right before I can think better of it. Tom clears his throat behind me. She'll come around, he says, voice low. Barbara doesn't like surprises. This whole thing blindsided her. Join the club, I answered. He chuckles, offers me a beer from the cooler by his chair. I take it. We clink bottlenecks. Dinner is careful. Conversation skitters across safe topics. Weather, the new stoplight on Maple, whether the Lions have a chance this year. Lila passes the mashed potatoes left-handed because her right is under the table holding Ethan's. Nobody mentions weddings or surgeons or pawned diamonds. Then Barbara sets down the gravy boat and says, Lila, I understand congratulations are in order. New apartment? Lila's fork pauses halfway to her mouth. Yes, ma'am. It's small, but it's mine. Barbara nods. Good, stability is important. She turns to me. Evelyn, I owe you an apology. The table goes still. Even the Lions game on the TV seems to hush. Barbara folds her hands. When Ethan told us what happened, about the other man, the secrets, I was unkind in my thoughts about you. I assumed poor parenting. I see now it is more complicated. I set my fork down. Barbara, the only thing I ever tried to teach my daughter was how to be honest with the people who love her. She's learning. We all are. Barbara's eyes glisten. She nods once, sharp, like a judge banging a gavel. Pass the rolls, Tom. The tension pops like a soap bubble. Conversation flows again, louder, warmer. Ethan's cousin asks Lila about her basil plants. Tom tells the story of the year the turkey caught fire. Someone opens another bottle of wine. After pie, the men retreat to the TV. The women clear the table. In the kitchen, Barbara hands me a plate to dry. Our shoulders brush. She looks happy, Barbara says quietly, glancing through the doorway where Lila is laughing at something Ethan whispered. She's getting there, I answered. Barbara hesitates. Ethan says you were the one who helped her see clearly. I just held up a mirror. She nods again, slower this time. Well, thank you for raising a daughter brave enough to look. I take the plate. Our fingers touch, dry, warm, steady. Later, driving home under a sky full of cold stars. Lila is quiet until we hit the highway. I thought they'd hate me, she says. They're scared of losing him, I answer. Hate's easier than fear. She thinks about that. You weren't scared? Terrified. I glance at her. But love isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to stay anyway. She reaches across the console, squeezes my hand. Her fingers are warm now. Christmas comes in on a whisper of snow. Lila decorates the porch with the same string lights we used when she was little. Half the bulbs burnt out, but we don't care. Ethan brings a tree that's too tall for the living room. We saw 6 inches off the bottom in the driveway, needles everywhere. Marlene comes with her famous cheesecakes. Jess from the hospital brings her new girlfriend and a bottle of peppermint schnapps. The house smells like pine and cinnamon, and the lasagna I still make too much of. At midnight, we bundle up and walk to the cul-de-sac. The neighbors have their lights synchronized to music. Some pop song Lila knows all the words to. She and Ethan dance in the street, boots crunching salt, breath fogging. I stand on the sidewalk with Marlene, arms linked. Think it'll stick? Marlene asks. Doesn't have to be perfect to be real, I say. She hip bumps me. When did you get so wise? Somewhere between the first gray hair and the first time a kid asked if I was the grandma dropping off snacks. She laughs so hard she snorts. On New Year's Eve, Lila hosts a potluck in her tiny apartment. The orange couch takes up half the living room. Someone spills salsa on it. Lila just shrugs and flips the cushion. Ethan strings fairy lights along the fire escape. At 11:59, we crowd onto the balcony, 8 of us, shoulders touching, watching fireworks bloom over the city. Lila raises her plastic cup of cheap champagne. To choose yourself, she says. And to the people who remind you who that is, we drink. The fireworks crackle gold and green and red. Ethan kisses her like it's the first time and the last time all at once. Spring arrives with dogwoods and the smell of lilacs. Lila gets promoted to charge nurse. Ethan starts paramedic training. They adopt a 3-legged cat named Tripod, who knocks over every plant on the fire escape and sleeps Lila's basil like it's catnip. One Sunday in May, I'm in the garden planting tomatoes when they pull up in Ethan's truck. Lila hops out barefoot, holding a small wooden box. Got something for you, she says. Inside, the hospital bracelet. Polished clean, strung on a delicate silver chain. I asked the jeweler to make it into a bracelet, she says. So you can wear it when you want. Or keep it in the box when you don't. I fasten it around my wrist. The beads catch the sun, pink and white and perfect. Ethan clears his throat. Mrs. C, we, have a question, Lila elbows him. Let me. She takes a breath. We're not rushing anything. But when we do get married, small, backyard, peach cobbler mandatory, will you walk me down the aisle? The tomatoes blur. I blink hard. Try and stop me. She throws her arms around me. Ethan joins. Then Tripod weaves between our legs, meowing for dinner. We stand there in the dirt, tangled together, the sun warm on our backs. Later, when they've gone and the garden is quiet again, I sit on the porch steps with the bracelet glinting on my wrist. The streetlights flicker on one by one. I think about invitations that never came and the ones that matter more. The ones written in ordinary days, in held hands, in choosing to stay. The stone in my throat is gone. In its place, something lighter. Something like peace. Summer settles in soft and slow, the kind of heat that makes the air shimmer above the asphalt and turns the cul-de-sac into a lazy river of kids on bikes and sprinklers hissing across lawns. I'm 62 now, though the mirror still startles me some mornings. Lines around my eyes like the rings in the old oak out back, each one a year I earned. The garden is my sanctuary, tomatoes heavy on the vine, basil so fragrant I bruise a leaf between my fingers just to carry the scent in my pocket all day. Lila and Ethan set a date for next June. Nothing firm. Just a circle on the calendar in red Sharpie. Maybe. They're in no hurry. They spend Sundays at the farmer's market, coming back with arms full of peaches and stories about the busker who played brown-eyed girl on a saw. Tripod rides in the truck bed, wearing sunglasses someone tied around his head with a bandana. I laugh every time I see the photo on Lila's fridge. One humid afternoon in July, Marlene drags me to the community pool for water aerobics with the silver sneaker crowd. I grumble, but the truth is I like the way the water holds me up, makes my knees forget they ache. We float side by side in the shallow end, noodles under our arms, gossiping about Mrs. Henderson's new boyfriend who rides a motorcycle and calls her dollface. You hear from the Whitfords? Marlene asks, kicking lazily. I snort. Caroline sent a Christmas card. Generic, no signature, just the pre-printed warm wishes from the Whitford family. I mimic her stiff voice. Probably hired someone to address the envelopes. Marlene cackles so loud the lifeguard glares. Karma's a patient woman. I think about Daniel sometimes. Not with anger anymore, just a kind of distant curiosity, like wondering what happened to the kid who used to steal my chalk in 3rd grade. I heard through Jess that he transferred to a practice in Denver. Something about needing a fresh start. Lila says Sophie, his daughter, still sends her drawings in the mail, crayon sunsets and stick figure nurses with stethoscopes. Lila tapes them to her fridge next to Tripod's vet bills. August brings a heat wave that wilts the petunias and makes the porch swing creak like it's complaining. I'm canning tomatoes in the kitchen, steam fogging the windows, when the doorbell rings. I wipe my hands on the apron, same one, new burn hole from a rogue splatter, and open the door to find Ethan holding a small velvet box. Not what you think, he says quickly, cheeks pink. Promise. Lila's behind him, grinning like she's about to burst. Let us in before you have a stroke, Mama. They follow me to the living room, where the fan spins lazy circles. Ethan opens the box. Inside, a key. Plain, brass, attached to a tiny wooden heart Lila painted with forget-me-nots. It's to the house, she says. The one on Sycamore. Ethan's lease was up, and we found this place. 3 bedrooms, wraparound porch, a yard big enough for Tripod to chase his tail in circles. I stare at the key like it's a foreign object. You bought a house? Together, Ethan says. We closed yesterday. Wanted you to be the first to have a key. Lila bounces on her toes. We're thinking of planting a peach tree in the back. For the cobbler, I take the key. It's warm from Ethan's hand. When do I get the tour? Tomorrow, Lila says. Bring your gardening gloves. The flower beds are a disaster. The house on Sycamore is butter yellow with black shutters and a porch swing that doesn't creak. The yard is mostly weeds, but I see potential. Room for hydrangeas, a vegetable patch, maybe a tire swing if they ever decide on kids. Tripod inspects every corner, tail high, then flops in a sunbeam like he's always lived there. We spent the afternoon pulling dandelions and drinking lemonade from a thermos. Ethan hauls the old porch swing from my place. Thomas refinished it the summer before he died and hangs it under the oak. Lila strings fairy lights along the railing. By dusk, the house looks like it's been waiting for them. That night, I sat on my own porch, the new key on a ribbon around my neck. The street is quiet except for crickets and the distant hum of a lawnmower. I think about the invitation that never came, the one that started everything. I think about the one I hold now, not paper, but possibility. Fall again. The leaves turn early this year, fire and rust against a sky so blue it hurts to look at. Lila gets her charge nurse pin, small, gold, shaped like a caduceus. The ceremony is in the hospital auditorium, fluorescent lights and folding chairs. I sat in the front row with Ethan, Marlene, and Jess's girlfriend, who brought a homemade sign that said Lila Rose Carter, RN, Badass. Lila blushes crimson when they hold it up. Afterwards, we ate sheet cake in the cafeteria. Someone spikes the punch with rum. Lila finds me by the vending machines, pin gleaming on her scrubs. Remember when you used to quiz me on anatomy with flashcards? She asks. You mixed up the femur and the fibula every time, she laughs. You never let me quit. Still won't. Winter solstice. The shortest day, the longest night. Ethan's paramedic class graduates. We bundle up for the outdoor ceremony, breath fogging, boots crunching snow. His name is called. He walks across the stage in his dress uniform, shakes hands with the chief. Lila whoops so loud the microphone feeds back. Later, at the reception in the firehouse, he pulls me onto the dance floor for the father-daughter song they never got to have. We sway to What a Wonderful World, his hand steady on my back. You're a good man. Ethan Hensley, I tell him. Take one to know one. Mrs. C. Spring returns with dogwood blossoms and the smell of lilacs. The peach tree in their backyard survives the winter. Buds fat and pink. Lila calls me one Saturday morning, voice tight. Mama, can you come over? Now? I drop the watering can and drive the 3 miles with my heart in my throat. The orange couch is pushed against the wall, coffee table covered in fabric swatches and what looks like 1,000 Post-it notes. Ethan's on the porch pacing. Tripod watches from the swing like he's seen it all before. What's wrong? I ask. Lila appears in the doorway holding a white dress over her arm. Simple tea-length lace sleeves. I found it at the thrift store. $20. It fits like it was made for me. She bites her lip. We're thinking next Saturday, backyard. Just family, potluck, the peach cobbler. No invitations. Just show up if you love us. Ethan stops pacing. We don't want to make a thing of it, but we want to make it official. I look from one to the other, the girl who once hid secrets in her bedroom, and the boy who helped her find her way back. The dress trembles in Lila's hands. Next Saturday, I say. I'll bring the cobbler. The wedding is exactly what they promised. 23 people, mismatched chairs borrowed from neighbors, fairy lights flickering as the sun dips low. Marlene officiates. She got ordained online for $12 and a promise to never mention it in polite company. Lila walks down the aisle alone, barefoot, dress catching the last light. Ethan waits under the peach tree, eyes shining. Tripod wears a bow tie and sits on Jess's lap like a furry usher. I stand beside Lila as she says her vows. Simple, handwritten, no mention of obey or cherish, just I choose you, every day, starting now. Ethan's voice cracks on, I'll keep choosing you back. Marlene pronounces them married. The backyard erupts in cheers and the pop of champagne corks. Later, under the stars, Lila finds me by the dessert table. Her hair is loose, cheeks flushed from dancing. You walked me down the aisle in your heart, she says. I felt it. I touch the bracelet on my wrist, the hospital beads warm against my skin. Always will. She hugs me, cobbler sweet and lilac scented. Love you forever, Mama. Love you back. Baby girl. The night winds down slowly, paper plates in the trash, fairy lights unplugged, the peach tree standing guard over the new beginning it helped witness. I drive home with the windows down, the key to their house on the seat beside me, the taste of summer on my tongue. The porch light is on, same as always. I leave it burning. I sit here now on my porch steps, the same ones Thomas sanded smooth the summer Lila turned 7. The night air carries the faint sweetness of the last honeysuckle, and the porch light hums soft above me, steady as a heartbeat. That light has seen a lot. Lila learning to ride her bike without training wheels. Thomas kissing me goodnight after late shifts, and me, standing here months ago with a crumpled invitation that felt like the end of everything. But endings, I've learned, are just doors we don't recognize as openings until we're brave enough to walk through. Lila's married now, in a dress that costs less than her first pair of nursing clogs. Ethan carries her over the threshold of a house with creaky floors and a peach tree that's already dropping fruit on the lawn. Tripod supervises from the windowsill, and I have a key on a ribbon around my neck, a quiet promise that family isn't just blood. It's the people who choose to stay when the story gets hard. So here's what I know for sure. Love isn't the absence of secrets. It's the courage to bring them into the light. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the strongest muscle we've got. And sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone fall so they learn how to stand. If you're watching this and you're holding a hurt, maybe from a child, a friend, a love that went sideways, know this. The invitation you didn't get might just be the one that leads you home. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had to expose a truth to save someone you love? How did you find your way back to each other? And if this story touched you, hit that subscribe button. We're all just trying to find our way in the dark, one porch light at a time. Good night, love. Keep choosing the truth. Keep choosing love,